here's a walkthrough of the final for what I'm doing before I install it later tonight. So I'd like to start with my circuit boards. Of course, I had 2 circuit boards made. These are the first time that I've ever done it. So a few of the things that I would do differently next time. Number 1, I would label every single port so that if I have to go through and troubleshoot later, which I did for many things in this case, I would need to know power, ground, data, clock, and so on for what they all are. Another thing I would do differently, for instance, is run a wire to this pin right here, because I somehow missed it and I had to run it by hand. Okay, so that's the one board. Here's the other board. Of course, these are all using 0805 components and surface mount things, which I had to solder and I've never done before with surface mount. I also seem to have got that pin header backwards on this one for the analog and the heater circuit, so I had to switch out my pin headers to correct that. Okay, so here's what it looks like with everything on it. So we can see it's kind of a lot going on. There's a pin right here where I had to manually run that line over to my relay board. But everything went in pretty well. That proto area came in really handy. I ran pin headers so that I can run that over to a jumper breadboard. Using these connectors was a big help. So I found some kits online for doing JST pin headers, which are these ones, and these are JST at 1/10 of an inch. Normally they're at 0.2 millimeters. These are at 0.25 millimeters, which means that they'll work on any standard holes. I also found a kit for doing just regular pin headers like that, which has been very useful for this project. Okay, so that's what that looks like. Here's the final MQ board. So I got the 4 MQ sensors and the DHT, and each one has its own pin header. And these end up kind of jumbled because, like I said, I got the 2 signals backwards and had to correct it. Also, I had a horrible time crimping these properly. I kept either crimping on the jacket or I would snap the end off after I had crimped it. But they turned out very nicely. These boards are amazing. This company did a great job. So I feel like it's looking really good. Of course, I've added the buzzer right here, and I stuck a fan on here to draw air past the sensor. So right here I've got the 2 cameras coming out. This is my camera mount right here. So you can see the 2 cameras inside there, the grid eye and then the Pi camera, and they're just using standoffs. Essentially, this is all 3D printed, just using standoffs that press into the actual mounting holes. Okay, so that's how I'm getting my cameras mounted, and then I'll show you how they go into the box here. So this box was a decent amount of work right here, but this will provide a lot of benefit to the project. So the idea is I'm going to have a fan in this location here. The air is going to come in through a filter, go around this baffle here, and that should take out any particulates. Then it'll be drawn across the air sensors, and then it'll come up and around, and then it'll just flow up here. I've got a charcoal filter just to make sure there's nothing else in there, and then I've got the fan, and then I've got the 2 cameras here. So this will be double filtered air going past the camera, and it provides air pressure going out, so it'll hopefully try to keep things away from the camera itself. And everything should just slide in here. And then I made up a little cover that'll press on at the top. Okay. The other thing that I made was this thing for the screen here. So I've got the 5 buttons on here. This back shell will slide over the edge of the range hood, and it'll snap in right here. And this will come through the opening, so it'll mount just like that. I don't have it pressed in all the way because it ended up pressing on the touch screen a little bit and causing problems, but that's going to be the user interface, and it's looking really good. So let's go ahead and stuff this, what's for hopefully the last time. So I need to assemble the last filter here. So this is the one filter, the charcoal filter, which that goes into this location right here. Okay, so this mesh filter, you just put the mesh in there like that, press the top on it, and that's about it. So that's done, and I'll go right there. Okay, so then I have my MQ board right here. Okay, and the MQ board will just slot in here like that, and then that should be all set. Okay, then we come up here and we have our fan. So the fan will just go into this slot right here to draw air. And then we've got our cameras. Okay, so there's the two cameras, and they will just slot in right here like that. So that should be protecting the sensors, protecting the cameras, providing lots of benefits there, keeping everything clean. Okay, and then the cover just snaps on top of that